Okay, let's talk about the basics of research class. Again, this is the basics of research. We will be talking about the stages of research process. Isa-isahin natin. We will be defining what is a problem. And at the same time, we will talk about the different research designs and methods. And I will teach you how to do the correct parenthetical citation so that when you start making your concept paper and even your paper, you know how to cite your references, and then we will not be charged with plagiarism. So we will start with the stages of research process so that you will have an overview of what steps are we going to undertake in order for you to complete your paper. So let's start. We have here first selecting the problem. So that's what we are doing now as we make your concept paper. We are actually selecting your problem or selecting the problem that we will address in your research. And then after selecting the problem, we'll be formulating the research title. Again, we have formulating the research title. So it's okay if your research title written in your concept paper is not really final. We will be processing that para mas mapanindot and mas tama ang inyuhang research title. Even in the proposal defense, the research title may be changed. So, ma-finalize lang yun na inyuhang research title pag nahuman na ang proposal defense at the end of the semester. But we will have a working title in your concept paper and at the same time sa pag-work niyo sa inyuhang paper before the proposal defense. After formulating the research title, we will be conceptualizing the research design and method to be utilized. So that will be the end part of my discussion this morning. I'll be having an orientation, an overview only of the research designs and methods that you can use in your research. Now this one, from this stage, let me write on the screen. From this stage up to this stage, ikatatlong stage, this will take place sa first semester. Okay? Even here, pwede din naman kasali ito. Depende na kung ano yung magiging takbo ng research ninyo. But anyway, that will be up to here or up to here. There are research na hanggang dito, pero actually hanggang selecting lang sa appropriate sampling technique. So ang administering kasi ng questionnaires will take place on the second semester or sa research 2 pa siya. So depende din kasi if your research needs a questionnaire. So kung naay questionnaire, then you have to construct it. If hindi niyo siya i-adapt, you have the option actually sa research whether to make your own questionnaire or if you can look at the internet or other resources, if you can find questionnaire that is similar sa inyong study, you can actually adapt it. Now, if you are going to construct your own questionnaire, you have to have it validated by experts. So sa school, yung experts na sinasabi natin, ang requirement dyan, ang minimum requirement dyan is dapat meron siyang master's degree. Okay, may master's degree ang dapat mag-validate ng questionnaire ninyo. So, it can be any master's degree as long as merong knowledge about your study, but I hope you can find someone that is actually medical technologist na merong master's degree for him or her to qualify as validator for your questionnaire. And then after validating the questionnaire, we will be selecting the appropriate sampling technique to be used. That is the reason why before kayo class mag-research, ang inyong prerequisite is actually the statistics. So I hope you can still remember your lessons of statistics because we will be applying them in research. And then after that, after selecting the appropriate sampling technique, kasi that's the technique that we will use in selecting your respondents or participants also. So pwede na kayong mag-administer ng questionnaire ninyo na select ninyo na participants. And then retrieval of questionnaires and collection of data, this time up to the last one. This will take place sa second semester for the research 2. Kasi this part will be the data gathering procedure, and then after data gathering, there will be presentation, analysis, and interpretation of your data. Once your data has been interpreted and analyzed, then you will have to summarize your findings, draw up your conclusions, and finalize your full-blown research paper. So, kailangan nakasunod yan siya sa format set by the institution. But anyway, I'll be teaching you the correct format para dili mo masaag. Pag-abot sa defense, walay daghang pangutana about the format. So, let's start with the first stage of the research process. This will be selecting the problem. So you are now on this stage, you are selecting your research problem. And then we will be making the concept paper for that. The final problem will be chosen by your instructors sa MedTech kasi that will be based on the concept paper being submitted by each member of the group if you will have your group na. Maybe later you will have your group na. So in selecting the problem, you have to consider the following. The following things. Kailangan una, we will have here propriety, meaning your research problem is appropriate in your field. So what is your field? We have medical technology. You're all students of BS Medical Technology. Therefore, kung mag-select kayo ng research problem class, it should be related to your course. So that is why last meeting, there are research problems that you want to do na I told you I have reservations on that topic. I think that is not appropriate sa inyuhang course. So kailangan pag mag-isip mo karon og research problem na inyuhang i-propose, appropriate siya sa inyong kurso. So mo na ang number 1 ninyo na i-take into consideration before mo mag-start og buhat yun sa inyong research or sa inyong concept paper karon. And then another one is relevance. So, is your research problem important? Meron ba siyang, kung matatapos niyo ba siya, meron ba siyang ambag sa community, sa medical technology na profession? So let's talk about its relevance sa society. Okay? And then another one, originality. That is the reason why I presented to you the available and the existing research or the thesis na existing na sa school last time, pero that was until 2017 only, for you to know na ito na yung mga natapos sa school and that hindi nyo na siya pwedeng i-duplicate. Hindi nyo na siya pwedeng gawin kasi tapos na siya. Pero if you want your research problem na parang similar to those na nag-exist na, you have to think of ways na kailangan meron siyang bagong area or meron siyang uniqueness, hindi talaga siya totally a copy of the existing ones. So for example, yung sinabi ko last time, if they did their research at Barangay Labangal, then probably you can have a different setting for your research. Okay? And then another one, merong, ano ba yung na-ask na question last time? Example, merong gustong mag-study ng water analysis of the existing ng mga water refilling station. Actually, meron na kasi siyang study 2 years ago, I think. So you don't have to do that anymore. Magka-problema taan na sa ato ang originality or novelty of the problem. So kung gusto ninyo similar to that, you look for things na medyo similar siyang study pero naagi hapoy difference, na uniqueness ang inyong gusto i-push na problem. And then we have the benefits. Sa part sa research, I believe na nakahuman na mo og research sa inyong senior high or sa even sa inyong junior high, naay part sa ato ang research, di ba, na ang tawag significance of the study. So that is where you identify people or group of people who can benefit sa inyong study at the same time unsa ang benefit nga ilahang makuha. So when you are thinking of your research problem ngayon, you have to make sure also that your study is beneficial. Beneficial ba siya sa inyo as a researcher or beneficial ba siya to the future researchers who want to study more about your topic? Beneficial ba siya to the community na target ninyo? Those are things that you need to establish. Kasi when you say benefits or significance of the study, this will actually establish the urgency of your research problem. I mean, when you say the urgency, anong kailangan man gyud nato na siya studyhan? Kailangan ba karon gyud siya studyhan? Urgent ba siya kaayo? Kung matubag na ninyo, yes, kasi it's beneficial to these people, then your research problem is actually good. And then another one, we have legality. So kung you choose to conduct an experimental research, meron tayong mga ethical considerations. Even sa mga descriptive na research, meron tayong mga ethical considerations. If you are discovering a new agent for a certain condition, then the legal way there and the ethical way is not to directly give this agent to human subjects. That is actually unethical. So that is the reason why we have substitute like animal model, and even sa inyo you have your microorganisms. Dito na to sila i-test in vitro kasi we don't give that directly to human subjects unless it's already in its clinical trial. So when you heard that term clinical trial, amo na siya ang stage sa research wherein the newly discovered agents are being administered to human subjects. So pag makabasa mo og clinical trial, human subjects na siya. Pero pag dili pa na siya approved for clinical trial, just like the undergraduate na mga researches, we cannot give our drugs to human subjects. All the other agents or the drugs. Now, for descriptive studies involving human, like you will be administering questionnaires or you will be asking them questions through interviews, naagihapon tay ethical consideration, ana. So I'll be teaching you also the different ethical principles that you need to follow in order for us to not violate any human rights. And then we have essentiality and measurability. So actually yung essentiality, it's almost the same with the relevance, no? And even the propriety of your study. But when you say measurability, you can really get a data sa inyong problem basig wala mo'y makuha nga data because wala mo'y procedure nga makita, and at the same time dili ninyo makuha ang data nga inyong gusto makuha if ever wala mo'y masunod na procedure, or at the same time ang inyong questionnaire kay dili appropriate for that. So these are the things na again kailangan nato i-consider sa pag-isip nato unsa bang problem ang ato ang gusto i-push sa research. So this is also abbreviated as problem. Okay? So kagay na pa ko naga-istorya og problem, unsa day ng problem. This is actually the center of our research, the centerpiece of a scientific inquiry. So when you say a problem, this is actually a specific question that we need to answer or we need to address. Kailangan mga problem ni siya, a specific question na kailangan nato solusyonan. That is why we are doing research. So for example, gusto nato makakita og new drug for a novel drug for COVID-19. That is actually our problem. Una siya, gusto nato kani ba nga plant na ato ang gina-consider effective for the COVID-19? That's a question. And we need an answer or a solution for that. So that is our problem. Dinha magtuyok ang ato ang research, ang ato ang investigation or scientific inquiry. Mo na inyuhang isipon karon while you are making your concept paper. Unsa ba nga problem? Unsa ba na question ang gusto nato matubag sa pagbuhat nato sa ato ang research? Any questions so far? Or naglibog gihapon mo kung unsa gyud ba ang ato ang unsa gyud inyuhang problem sa inyuhang concept paper? If you have queries, you can ask anytime. So let's move on. We have here guidelines on assessing the problem. For example, naana mo'y naisip nga problem ay gusto na ko ni studyhan. Gusto na ko ni matubag na question. Now, you have to assess whether your problem is a good one or a feasible one. So what are the guidelines? Number one, novelty of the problem, that talks about the originality of your problem or of your research study. So you can inquire sa ako, ma'am, pwede ba ni siya nga study? Wala pa ba ni siya nahuman og conduct ever since? So you can ask me because I have the control of all the researches sa school. And then, number two, capability of the researcher. So are you capable of conducting that kind of study? Ang inyong problem ba, kaya gyud ba ninyo siya himuon? So you have to ask yourself first, kung naamoy maisip nga problem, kung kaya ba nako ni siya himuon nga research. And then usefulness of the study. So again, this is very important. Usefulness, the benefit that we can get from your research. Kasi it will be useless, you will be devoting time, resources, effort ninyo, tapos pagkahuman, wala di ay benefit nga makuha din ha. Dili di ay magamit ang inyuhang research. And then availability of data and information. This is actually another thing. Kasi when we do our research, we have to back it up with a lot of references. Yung mga ideas na ilalagay natin sa inyuhang research will be mostly coming from other people's idea or existing na mga studies. So mao na natin ginatawag of review of related studies and literature. And as a researcher, you actually have to consider that na ba mo'y makuha nga data or information about sa inyuhang problem? Kay basig walay unod ang inyuhang introduction, walay unod ang inyuhang review of related literatures, kasi wala mo'y makita nga information. So pag naamoy maisip nga problem class, actually ang inyong himuon ana is to do background research. Mag-research mo kung naa ba available information about that or wala. So kung gusto mo example, mga medical myths or mga fake news, pangitaon ninyo siya sa internet. Kung wala di ay mo makita about that, actually, your study, your problem will become meaningless. So it's very good kung daghan mong makita nga data or information. Brown out. Okay, sige. And lastly, we have cost and time limit of the researcher. The first one here is the time. Class, for the first semester, for this research one, all we need to do is to make a proposal. A proposal paper containing the introduction and the methodology. The data gathering procedure will take place on the second semester, and then you will just be given time from January to at least April, first or second week of April, to gather your data and at the same time complete your paper. So you have to bear in mind when you are looking for a research problem, kanang problem lang na kaya nato i-address within those months. Kay basig ang inyuhang maisip na paper kay nanginahanglan siya og isa ka tuig yun for the data gathering procedure, maglisod ta na dili ta ka graduate ana. Kay kung dili nato na siya mahuman within the prescribed time, you will be actually failed sa research, and at the same time you have to re-enroll that one on the following year. So mao na ako ang ginamin sa dili ta makagraduate if dili na to mahuman ang research. So again, pag mag-think mo og problem sa research class, you have to consider that time also. So you will be given at least 3 months lang in the collection of the data, and then after collecting the data, you have to make your paper pa, you have to finalize or complete your paper. So think about that. Meron kayong time frame for that. You're time bounded. So dili pwede nga isa ka tuig. Muna akong ginahingon pa, mangita mong tambal sa COVID-19, dili gid na siya applicable karon sa inyo ha. Kay that will require a lot of time for you to finish. Okay? Sige, brown out. Noted. And then another thing, the cost. So kung nakita ninyo sa concept paper na dito sa pinaka-last nga part, ang budget. Nga naman, kasi we need to think and we need to assess kung kaya ba nato ang cost sa atuang research. Especially if you want to do an experimental research, kay that will require you a lot of money na igawas. Kay daghan kay mong paliton, daghan kay mong himuon. So kailangan ninyo na siya i-itemize sa inyong concept paper, even the budget for food if you need one, transportation, communication, tanan nga budgets kailangan inyuhan na siyang i-itemize dito para karon pa lang naa na tay picture kung unsa kadako inyuhang magasto basin moabot na siya 100,000 nya ihati nato among yourselves. Pero sa tan-aw ninyo, bisag daghan mo sa inyong grupo, dili gihapon ninyo kaya, then dili nato na siya i-push nga problem. So again, when you think of the problem that you want to study, you have to consider also money, the cost. Unsa ba kadako ang inyong magasto. So muna akong gi-example sa inyo last time, we have pharmacy students na gusto gyud sila mag-experimental research, and actually naay isa ka grupo dito when I asked them pila na ilahang nagasto, they told me they stopped counting when they reached 30,000. Kaya mas stress na daw sila kung magpadayon pa sila og kanang count sa ilahang nagasto na. So dito sila nag-end sa 30,000 pero actually napa sila sa middle sa ilahang research that time. So you consider that also when you think of your problem. Kaya ba ninyo ang cost? So question so far, basig na mo gusto i-clarify kay mao man gud niyang first stage sa research, you are here, you're still here sa pag-think o problem. And then pag naanamoy problem, i-assess ninyo kung kaya ba na ninyo. Any question or clarification? Wala. So mag-move on ta. Now, pag naanamoy maisip na research problem, you will be formulating the research title. So I will give you an overview on how are you going to make your title. But again, ingon ko sa sinugdan sa akong discussion, the final title will be done pa, makuha na ninyo after the proposal defense. I-finalize na siya sa mga panel, and then tanawon sa mga panel kung dawaton ba na nila or dili. But nevertheless, we will have a working title sa concept paper and even while you are doing your research proposal. So these are the guidelines in making the research title. The first one, it should not be long and should not be more than 20 words. So kung namoy naisip din nga title, please count. Please count. That should not be more than 20 words. Actually, the ideal is not more than 15 words. But take note, function words are not counted. When I say function words, I'm referring to words like a, an, of, mga function words na sila. They are not counted class. So, ang i-count lang ninyo tong mga important class na words nga naa sa inyong title without the function word. So, dapat not more than 15 words na siya. And then it should include the variables like independent and the dependent variables. I'll be teaching you later what are the independent and dependent variables, but I hope na agian ninyo siya sa inyuhang statistics. And then it should give insight virtually on what the research is all about. Like when I am a reader, when I read your title, I can actually know, I will know kung unsay sulod aning inyuhang research based sa title pa lang. So dapat actually your title will summarize everything about your paper. Next, another thing that you need to know when you are going to construct your research title, the following words should not be part of the title since all the researches are studies, an analysis of variable, and an investigation. Ani class, dili dapat ko makakita og title nga naay a study of, an analysis of, or an investigation of. Nga naman, tanan research class is a study, it's an investigation, or it's an analysis. So automatic na siya, no need to place those words in your title. And then, another thing, it is not important to include the date and location of the investigation as this can be placed in the scope and delimitation of the study. So again, dili na kailangan ibutang ang date nga inyuhan na siyang i-conduct January to March 2021. And another thing, actually no need to place the location of your study sa title ha, kasi we will be writing those things under sa scope and delimitation. So naay part sa introduction that we call scope and delimitation. We will be writing there the time frame and also the local, research local, asa mo mag-conduct sa inyong study. So I'll give you an example of a research title. This one is an example of a research title. We have here the predictive efficacy of academic preparation of radiologic technologists on the licensure board exam. So unsay una natong tan-awon, is this a long title or not, or is this ideal? Unsa ganitong ideal? Not more than 15 words. So let us try to count. Again, we will not be including the function words like the, of, on, dili na sila included. So we will not be including the, we will start counting at predictive. So 1, 2, let me write on the screen. 1, 2, again, this is not included. So 3, 4, this one is also not included. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this one, kani sila, wala na sila gina-appeal og include, they are called function words. So pila to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 words here for the example, which means nakasulod ni siya sa ideal na research title. Kasi it's not more than 15 words. Actually, 9 words lang siya, all in all. Now, another thing na you have to note, di ba ingon ko wala dapat a study of, analysis of, an investigation of, so mo na siya, wala na siya nakita sa title na. At the same time, when you read the title, you will have a picture kung what is the research, what the research is all about. So kung basahon nato, the predictive efficacy of academic preparation of the RADTECs on their licensure board exam. So makabalo ko, magbasa pa lang ko daan ang kabalo na ko ani nga study. Gusto nila mabalaan ang efficacy, ang effectiveness sa preparation sa mga student dito sa pagpasa nila sa board exam. So muna siya, this one is actually a good title. Just by reading it, kabalo na ko unsay sulod sa ilahang papel. And lastly, I want to discuss this last na kay kailangan ninyo ni siya masabtan. A research title should have the independent and the dependent variable. Sa inyo habang statistics na discuss ni siya ang independent o dependent variable? Okay, can you still remember unsay difference ana nilang duha? Anyone? You can send your answer sa chat. I want to know kung how well do you know the independent and the dependent variable. Para ma-assess na ko karon pa lang daan whether I should dig deeper or not. Wala, nakalimot na. You can either turn on your microphone or just send your answer sa chat. Ang independent po is constant while ang dependent po is nag-change depending on some factors. Okay? Anything else? Yan ba yung control and then dependent can be changed? Okay. So you have similar understanding based sa ako ang nabasa nga duha pa lang na na-send. Based sa akong understanding, you have the similar similar knowledge on what independent and dependent variables are. So according sa inyo ha, that is constant. And mo na siya ang gina-control. And then ang dependent ang naga-change depending sa factors. Okay, let's see. Actually, you have a point there. Actually, that is correct. When you say independent variable, I want to write sa screen. Wait lang. Let me connect my pen. Kung kay ko gina-connect sa akong laptop, mang good. Wala na ko space sa USB. I need to remove something. And I need my pen. Okay, let me write on the screen. So this one class is the independent and the dependent variable. When we make our conceptual framework, we will be identifying the two. Always na siya nakabutang sa box. And the first one will be the IV, the independent variable, and the dependent variable. So take note of this arrow. It's pointing towards the dependent variable. Nga naman na siya, kasi the independent variables are the predictive variables, predictive variables. And at the same time, this is one that is being manipulated in the study. Manipulated or controlled. So tama to siya inyuhang gina-ingon. Yeah. Pwede po na siya dyan na independent can be the cause and dependent variable can be the effect. Sige, that is why it is pointing to the dependent variable. So pwede po, sige, let's use the word cause here. And then the dependent variable is also known as the outcome variable. Meaning this is the one being measured in the study. So when you look at the title, na example, makita pa lang nimo sa title daan unsa ang independent variable ug unsa ang dependent variable. So when you look at the title, you will see here the predictive efficacy of the academic preparation of the rad text on the licensure exam. Kani pa lang din will be the hint for you that this will be the outcome. Okay? So kung outcome na siya, syempre dependent variable na siya. So unsa ang mag-predict aning outcome na ni the academic preparation. The academic preparation of the radiologic technologist. Mao na siya ang mag-predict sa atuang outcome which is ang licensure board exam. So we have here now the independent and the dependent variable. So anong kailangan ako siya i-discuss kasi sa title, aside sa mga things nga kailangan ninyo i-consider sa title, dapat makita nato si independent o si dependent variable. So I'll give you another example. I need You need a clear screen for this. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Ang title last time. Okay. Medical fake news and fear mongering on COVID-19. The impact on vaccine confidence among millennials. So this one is actually a title from the previous batch. Now, let's see if their title is ideal. The first thing to do is to count and then exclude the functional words. So let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one is considered an ideal title kasi you have 8 words only here. And then wala siya the study of the investigation of and something. Now let's look at if naa ba ang independent o dependent variables here. So kung magsulat mo nag independent and dependent variables, it's always like this. Always na siya like this sa conceptual framework. The IV is pointing to the DV kasi this one is the outcome. So when I ask you sa title na naa sa screen, let's first actually mas dali i-identify ang dependent variable. Let's start with the dependent variable. What do you think is the dependent variable for this study? Ingon ko kagaina, when you say dependent variable, that is our outcome variable. That is what we are measuring in the study. So again, what will be the dependent variable in this study based on the title pa lang? Kasi a good title always have the dependent and the independent variables. Okay, let me see.
Impact on vaccine, ma'am.
Impact. Kinsa to? Sorry, wala ko kakita. Kinsa to nag-istorya?
Sheena po. Abaga po.
Okay, sige. I need to keep track of your names. Para sa inyong recitation kasi di ba that is a big part of the grading system. Impact of vaccine. Impact on vaccine confidence, Rani. Vaccine confidence. Gel. Impact on vaccine confidence among millennials. Okay. Meron na question mark ang uban. Dili mo sure? Okay. Wait lang. Asan na po ang tools for writing? Okay. Sige. The correct answer here is actually we will be writing the word impact. Kailangan ang word na impact din. Kaya mo man atong gina-measure ang impact niya on vaccine confidence. So that is our, again, dependent variable. That is our outcome variable. You can actually include the millennials. Pwede na po ninyo i-include among millennials to be specific. Pero pwede ra po impact on vaccine confidence. So pwede ra na siya kaayo. Okay? Okay. Now, since we have already identified the outcome, now what will be our independent variable? The predictive variable sa atuang study. The one that we are going to manipulate or we are controlling. And the one that will result to the dependent variable. Okay.
Medical fake news and fear mongering
Okay.
on COVID-19.
Sige. So the others are actually answering sa chat. So your answers are actually correct. Let me read everything. Ha? Okay. So tama inyong mga answers even sa chat. Pero let's complete it. You have to write everything. Medical fake news and fear-mongering on COVID-19. So mao ni siya atong independent variable kasi that is being manipulated in the study, meaning mao na ato ang ginatan-aw sa ato ang study, and then ina-check nato na siya. Pag check nato ato siyang ato ang i-measure kung naa ba siya effect on our dependent variable. So, ang ilahang gihimo, they gathered all the medical fake news and fear-mongering sa COVID-19, meaning mao ni inyong ginaingon kagaina nga this one is being controlled and this one is constant in the study. So, product ni siya sa research nila, gikuha nila tanan, mo na siya nga controlled siya kasi this is based sa research sa mga researcher and sila ang nagbuot unsay ilahang i-include dito na mga fake news. And this is constant kasi wala siya naga-change. Kung magbuhat sila og questionnaire, kung unsa ilang gisulat dito, mao na gyud to. Mao na to ilahang identified na medical fake news and mga fear-mongering sa COVID-19. Tapos after that, ang ilahang gi-measure ang outcome ana is the impact dito sa vaccine confidence sa mga millennials. So I hope nagkasinabot ta when I say independent variables and dependent variables, and that when you make your own research title, you will be including the independent variables and then the dependent variables in your study. So hamo na siya inyong tandaan when you make your own title. Do you have questions or clarifications? So far, kaya wala pa man mo kabuhat sa inyong title, basing na amoy gusto i-clarify. Wala. By the way, ang mga kung ang inyong napili nga study kay qualitative, I'll be differentiating that two later, but pag qualitative ang inyong study, actually dili siya strict regarding the format. Wala manggoy independent o dependent variable pag qualitative na study. Meaning we are not measuring something when you say qualitative study, thus wala siya dependent variable. And that wala pud na siya independent variable. So you can actually play with words when it comes to qualitative research. That is why ang parehas sa qualitative study nga example, the journey dito. The journey of, example lang, hospital. Let me delete this. The journey of hospital pharmacist on COVID-19 pandemic. O lang na ilahang title. This one is a qualitative study. Pag mayroon kag qualitative study, you don't have no numerical data here. Wala kay makuha na numerical data kasi they will just interview their participants. Who are their participants? The hospital pharmacist. Mag-interview lang sila wala sila'y makuha nga number, so wala sila'y gina-measure. Therefore, pag qualitative ang inyong study, walay independent, walay dependent variables. And makita ninyo na sa ilahang title pa lang, The Journey of Hospital Pharmacist and COVID-19 Pandemic. Wala sila'y gina-control, wala sila'y gina-measure, so walay outcome. And then they can play with words. That is why they use journey. Actually, ang ilahang ginapangutan na gyud ani kay experience. experience class sa mga hospital pharmacist during the COVID-19 pandemic. Wait lang. Pero dili na ninyo makita sa ilahang title. So muna akong ginaingon nga when you opt to do a qualitative research, you can play with words. This is not very strict when it comes to the format in making the title. Pero if ang gusto ninyo is a quantitative research, meaning you can really get a numerical data sa inyong research, pwede siya experimental, pwede siya descriptive using a questionnaire, then you have to follow the rules na ako ang giingon sa inyo ha. You have to consider those things na dapat na siya ID and DV. So that's it. Any question about the formulation of the title? That's formulating the title, ha? So take note. Kung wala'y pangutana, take note. When you write your title class, take note of this. If presented in more than one line, the title should be in bold font and should be arranged in an inverted pyramid. Again, if more than one line ang inyong title, kailangan naka-bold na siya, tapos naka-inverted pyramid. So kung isulat na ko to ulit ang atuang title kagaina, dili lang nako siya ma-bold din pero pag kamo na mag-type, kailangan naka-bold na siya. Medical, fake news, and fear mongering. Kaya mo sobra man gyud ni siya isa ka linya kung i-type, kailangan inverted pyramid siya. COVID-19 example diha lang ko taman, mao lang ni kadako akong papel. The impact on vaccine confidence among millennials. Okay, so this one is actually an inverted pyramid. So kung nakita ninyo ang iyahang direction, it looks like this. So pag isulat ninyo siya, i-type ninyo siya, mao na inyong tandaan naka-bold and naka-inverted pyramid kung more than one line ang inyong title. That is our correct format sa pagsulat sa title. So please do not forget that. Now, wala na mo yung question sa atuang title. Let's move on sa atuang research documentation. So research documentation, we have two general styles of research documentation. We have the APA and the MLA format. So APA stands for American Psychological Association and MLA is Modern Language Association. Pero you have to remember that sa GSD-MSFI, we are following the APA format. So kung mag-document ka karon og research, everything should be sa APA format naka-follow. Tanan-tanan, the format, from the writing, and even sa documentation and sa mga citation nato and references, APA format ang atuang sundon. Okay, so you should have a working bibliography. This one is a detailed list of all the references that you have in your study. Tanan ninyong gikuhaan og idea, kailangan ninyo to siya ibutang sa references, pero since this is not yet done, we call it a working bibliography. So what are the purposes of making working bibliography? First is to keep a record of the sources you have already examined and those that you are going to examine. So ingon ko kagaina na when you have a problem at hand, na mo'y naisip na problem, you have to do a background research kung naa ba mo'y makuha nga information about sa inyong problem. Now, kailangan ninyo maka-keep track, maka-record sa tanan ninyong nabasa na, and at the same time namoy nakita sa internet tapos pagkahuman wala pa mo'y time magbasa for that. So inyo sa siyang isulat na mauni ang inyong sunod nga i-examine. So that is a working bibliography. And then another one to record the publishing details of each source you use or cite so that they can be properly referenced in a working, in works cited, the works cited or reference list at the end of the research paper. So actually, ang last part sa research paper will be the curriculum vitae, but before the curriculum vitae, we will have the references. And mauna na siya ang final list sa tanan ninyong references, whether it's coming from a book or from the internet, final list na to siya. So pag moingon kag working bibliography, you are still working in your paper and that you have to keep track sa tanan ninyong references na gamito ninyo or posible ninyo gamiton sa inyong research. So pag ma-finalize na, dito na siya sa final reference list. Now, what are the contents of the working bibliography? If you are going to read something, you have to take note of the following. Syempre, the title of the thesis or the title of the article na inyuhang gibasa na about sa inyuhang problem, the author or the authors, that's very important, and then the dates, whether the date of publication of that reference or the date of retrieval. When you say the date of retrieval, kung kanusaan ninyo siya gibasa, kanusaan ninyo siya gi-retrieve para gamiton ninyo siya sa inyuhang papel. And syempre, if it is a printed material like books, you have to take note of the page numbers also. If it is coming from a website, then you have to take note of the URL. You need those things for your reference list. So mo na siya ang inyuhang i-take note pag naamoy basahon na reference about sa inyuhang problem. Okay? Now, I'll be talking about parenthetical citation. When I presented my own concept paper, ipakita na ko sa inyo dito na naakoy mga parenthetical citations na gigamit because those ideas are not mine. I just took it from, kung sabi ito akong gi-cite ito, World Health Organization and the Department of Health. So I need to give credit where credit is due, and that in the body of your paper, you're going to do a lot of parenthetical citation. So when you say parenthetical citations, this is actually brief reference, and enclosed siya sa parentheses, man na siyang gitawag siya parenthetical citation within the text of the research paper. So it's within your paper, especially sa introduction and sa inyong review of related literature. Makakita mo daghang parenthetical citation din ha. And that the full citation will actually be written sa bibliography or sa reference list. So pag maghimo ta og parenthetical citation, usually we will be including the author's last name. Pirmigin na siya, the author's last name only and the year of publication. Maulang gina siya ang content sa parenthetical citation nato. And the parenthetical citation will appear at the end of the sentence. Take note, between the last word and the period. Kaya mao niyo siya ang mali sa mga estudyante pirmi. Makalimot sila na ang parenthetical citation kay sa last na siya, sa end sa sentence, and it's between the last word and the period. So I want to present something for you na mag-guide sa parenthetical citation. Sa bang ako ang naadiri nga daghan og parenthetical citation, I think it will be the faculty research. Wait, let me open it. Okay, I'll start here. This one is a sample research following the IMRAD format. And this is the format na ginagamit natin sa school for research talaga. We don't follow the ones nga na ay chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 1, sige na chapter 1. Dugay na ko wala ng himog thesis nga naka chapter 1, problem and its setting. Tapos chapter 2 kay review of related literatures and studies. Chapter 3 kay methodology. Wala na ta nagahimo og ing ana nga format sa school. Instead, we follow the IMRAD format starting from the introduction. So ay mo kalibog hakay. This one is my faculty research. So ako nagbuhat ani. This is about the development of pharmacology laboratory manual. So I have here the introduction. But when I make an introduction kasi always na siya na the first paragraph will be my idea. My own idea. This is an assertion introduction. So dili jud mo makakita og citation din ha. And then the second paragraph, naana na siya actually citation pero it's a different format. It's not really a parenthetical citation. Kasi my citation here is the CHED Memorandum CMO number 3 series of 2006. So wala na ko siya gibutang as parenthetical citation. But anyway, I'll teach you also how to do that. That is called in-text citation. Kani siya. Moingon na kog according to the Commission on Higher Education in its CHED Memorandum, CMO number 3, series of 2006, we call this in-text citation. Now, as we move on, this is where we see the parenthetical citations na. So for example, this paragraph, this comes from an article, daghan siya og author, daghan siya og author class. So, pag 3 or 4 authors, you can actually include all their names. Pero take note, pag moingon kag parenthetical citation, ang atuang kailangan lang kay ang ilahang surname. So, surname lang na siya. We have here 4 authors. King, Bo, I don't know how to really pronounce his or her na surname. And then we have Sprague, Kinchin, and take note, we need the year of the publication. So that's 2011. So you have to enclose it sa open and close parentheses, and then you will have the comma in between the surname or the surnames, and even a comma that will separate the surname from the year of the publication. And another thing sa format na kailangan ninyo mabalaan, it's between, the parenthetical citation is between the last word. So I have the last word here and the period. So I have the period here. Naa siya sa tunga.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, yung sa pag, good ng kanilang surname, good, ma'am. Need pa ba alphabetical or random lang na paglagay ng surname nila, ma'am?
Okay. Wala tay format na alphabetical siya. Actually, always na siya nga ang mauna will be the principal investigator. So, mostly, mabalaan ninyo na ang principal investigator dito po sa format sa ilahang publication. Kung kinsa ang pinakaunang apelyido dito, most of the time, mauna siya ang principal na researcher. So, principal investigator na siya. So, maupod na imuhang unang ibutang dinha sa imuhang parenthetical citation. So, kung unsa ang pagkasunod-sunod dito sa ilahang apelyido, maura pod na imuhang sundon sa imuhang parenthetical citation. So that is also true with the other citations here. You can have a lot of citations in one paragraph, just like this one. This one is one whole paragraph, but if you have observed, daghan og citation ni siya. I have one citation here and then another citation here. Okay, so we have here Antigua, Gonzales, Lee, Razon, and Sakayanan. Though kung nakapansin ninyo, naka-alphabetical siya, pero I just followed the order dito sa akong gikuhaan nga article. The same thing with this one, Dalmatian and Sana, 2009. Okay, so that's it for the parenthetical citation. The next part will be the statement of the problem. So definitely wala ko citation diha, significance po. So those are my own words, so walay citation. But for the theoretical framework, since these are not my idea, so naagihapon ko citation for this. So do not forget, it's between the last word and the period. And then another thing na mali sa mga estudyante, usahay gina-include nila ang initials. For example, ako, Gabilagon, RR 2021. So katong RR, that's Reza Rafael, no need to place the initials. Just the surname. Surname lang yun na siya. Okay? Ay, may question there, direct. Until what year? Okay, until what year? That is actually a good question. Until what year lang po ang accepted RRL? So sa school, ang atuang rule is 10 years backward. Isang tuig ta karon 2021. So ang allowed na RRL will be 2011 to 2021 only. So kaning akong mga uban din since dugay na nako ni siya nga paper, so man na amoy makita nga uban nga tuig. May 2009, so dugay naman gud ni siya nga paper. So mo to allowed pa ang 2009. Pero karon kamo since we are now sa 2021, 2011 lang ang pinaka last na RRL na year na pwede ninyo gamiton. Okay, go Koy. Go, go, go. And then, okay. Unsa ang difference sa editor ug sa author ug kinsa dapat ang gamiton? So, ang author siya gyud ang nagbuhat ana example book. Siya gyud ang nagbuhat ng book. Now, ang editor kung na siya'y nakita nga something sa book nga gusto niya i-edit, actually mananghid man na siya sa author nga himuon niya ulit ang book pero naa na siya mga part na i-edit. But mostly sa content sa book is ang words gihapon to ni author. Naalay mga parts gamay nga i-edit sa editor. Okay? Now kinsa dapat ang gamiton ang author gihapon? Ang author gihapon sa parenthetical citation, ang author gihapon na siya, pero when we do the reference list, katong full-blown na gyud nga research, bibliography or reference, we have to include also the name of the editor. So I will also teach you how to do the referencing using the APA format, the latest edition, the 7th edition, na ma-include ang name ni editor. I think ang reference din is not the 7th edition. So last, pa niya siya, 6th edition pa niya siya. Pero nevertheless, I'll be teaching you the latest one. Sorry kay taas kayo niya kung study. This is 67 pages. Okay. So like this one, the reference list. So this is not yet the 7th edition. So may mga konting changes pa din. Okay? So this one is the reference list. Medyo daghan-daghan na siya. Ana po din yung buhaton. Mao ni siya ang reference list. So that is different from the parenthetical citation. Pero dili mo pwede mo butang og list din sa reference list kung wala siya nakabutang sa parenthetical citation ha. So dapat kung unsa tong inyong mga nabutang sa parenthetical citation, the same din dapat makita pud nato sila. Oy. Sorry, connection is private. Okay, questions so far sa parenthetical citation, sa format. I hope nagkasinabutan na. Wala na? So let's try. Yes,
sa reference good ma'am. Kailangan ihiwalay ma'am kung halimbawa sa website ka nagkuha, ihiwalay siya sa books.
Okay, sige. Ang new edition sa APA format sa 7th edition, actually wala na siya ginahiwalay. The arrangement is alphabetical. Alphabetical na siya. Whether it's coming from a book or gikan siya sa mga websites, isahon na siya tanan, pero i-arrange siya alphabetically. So, old format na siya ang ginahiwalay sa ang books, ang website. Old na siya. Ang karon ang new, wala. Alphabetical na. Okay, anything else? Wala na. So let's talk about the parenthetical citations and how are we going to do that. So we have the first one here, citing a significant paraphrased idea. Take note sa research, we don't do copy-pasting. So pag natay idea na i-include and that's not from ourselves, dili na siya coming from our own idea, we have to paraphrase it. Pero bisag i-paraphrase na nato, kailangan gihapon ta magbutang og citation. So how are we going to write the parenthetical citation? The author's name and the year of publication should be indicated and enclosed in parentheses at the end of the statement. So let me give you an example. So this one is an example of a paraphrased idea. We have here, research is a scientific inquiry which uses methodical processes intended to answer or solve significant problems. So at the end of the sentence, before the period, I have here the parenthetical citation. So duha ka apelyido kay duha man ng author. So Pollitt and Beck, and then comma, and then the year of publication. So do not forget, we just need the surname and the year of publication. Next, one author is cited in the text. So mani siya kung ginaingon karon nga, it is not really called parenthetical citation but in-text citation. So pag in-text citation class, only the year of publication should be written and enclosed in parentheses. So sa example ani, pag ibutang gani nimo imuhang ang apelyido sa author, ibutang nimo siya appeal diri sa text nimo, then ang imuha lang i-enclose sa parentheses kay ang year of publication right beside the surname. So parehas ani, Pollitt, that's the surname of the author. Pollitt 2004, that's the year of publication, ascertained that nursing research is expected to generate knowledge for the improvement of health and quality of life of the clinical nurses clients. So gi-appeal ang apelyido sa text. So, ang year of publication na lang ang ibutang sa parentheses. Again, right beside the surname. We call this in-text citation. So, you can also do this. Kung gusto ninyo i-appeal ang surname dito sa text nga inyong ginasulat. Another example, pamuingon kag according to, example ako, according to Gabilagon, let's write that's the screen. Example ako ang nag-ingon. So, Gabilagon, tapos ang year. Tapos na to, 2021. Okay. Example akong giingon. Stated that. And then the idea dayo. That's in-text citation for you. Or pwede po, according to Gabilagon. So gi-appeal na ko ang pangalan, ang apelyido I mean sa ako ang gisulat. So ang automatic class, ang year lang ang ibutang sa parentheses. So that's how you do it. The in-text citation. If you have questions, you can always ask questions. You can just send a chat or you can unmute anytime and ask me question. Asa na ta? Number 3. Okay, what if po wala nakalagay na author and date? Paano po ang format sa references at citation? Okay, I'll have that later. Naani siya, mga number 4 or number 5. Sige, ako na siyang answeran later. Or number 3 sa ta, citing a quotation without the author's name in the text. So kung wala ang author's name sa text, the author's name, the year of the publication, even the page should be written and enclosed in parentheses. This is done if you have class kanang printed materials as references. So for example, this one. Wala ni mo gi-include ang author sa text. Therefore, parenthetical citation yun siya. Apelyido niya, ang year of publication, and since this is a printed material, example sa book siya gikan, we may include the page number. So mo ni siya P53. And then, close parenthesis and period. Again, this is for printed materials. But I think most of you, inyuhang himuon ani is coming from the internet. So usahay ra gyud ko makakita og naay page number. Kaya ang ato ang mga references coming from the websites, wa man gyud na siya page number no. So mostly sa akong makita gyud the surname and the year of publication. Now number 4, citing 2 or more authors. So when citing 2 or 3 authors, the thesis writer has to name all the authors and indicate the year of the publication and enclose them in the parentheses. So pag 2 or 3 authors, please include everyone sa citation. Pero if 4 or more authors, the writer has to name only the principal one and to be followed with the abbreviation et al, which means and others as well as the year of publication. So mo ni siya again inyong tandaan, pag 1, 2, or 3 authors, you have to include all their surnames. Pero kung 4 or more than that, you have to write only the principal author and then followed by the et al. Ang meaning sa et al class kay others. So let me give you an example. So we have here an in-text. This one is an in-text citation ha, kay gi-appeal ang apelyido sa text. So Celtis, now we will assume na daghan kaayong author ni siya. So that is why instead of naming them all, we will just write et al. And we will assume here na si Celtis is the principal researcher or principal investigator. So Celtis, et al, take note, may mga period na siya, and then only the year of publication will be placed inside the open and close parentheses. Pag PDF, pero pag PDF man good, it's still coming from the internet na no need to write also the page number. So again, pag PDF, no need na. Only printed materials like books. Ano siya ang mga encyclopedia mo na siya ang butangan nato og page number. So mag-et al taha pag 4 or more than 4 authors na ang atuang reference. Pwede siya in text, pwede siya parenthetical. Meaning, kung dili nato ibutang si Celtis din ha, diri siya sa last. So Celtis before siya sa ano? Before siya sa period. So, wait. Celtis, this is what you're going to do, et al, and then, comma, 1981, and then period. So, anaon natin siya pagsulat kung ano siya. Ayan, parenthetical citation siya. Get rid of that period, i-transfer sa end. Ayan, wait, sorry. Now, muna ni siya ang I believe pa din siyang pangutanan ni Janet. Later na lang to. Dapat siguro sa mga later part. Citing authors with the same surnames. Paano ma'am kung duha sila author tapos pareha silang surname? What are we going to do? Now, that is the time you will indicate their initials. Again, mao lang ni ang time nga butangan nato initials for proper identification. Pag parehog surname ang atuang reference, duha sila kabuo. So example, we have here, research is defined as a scientific investigation of phenomena which includes collection, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of facts that links man's speculation with reality. So duha ka book iyang author niya, pareha sila og apelyido. Therefore, we need to include their initials. So just like this one, initials nila ni sa ilang pangalan, LP Calmorin and MA Calmorin, comma, the year of publication. Mao lang na siyang time nga makakita ko og initials sa inyuhang parenthetical citation. Okay? Questions? Wala. So muna ni siya karon ang wait, if you have questions, i-send lang ha. Namuna ni siya karon ang pangutana ni Janet, paano daw kung walay author? So citing the work without an author. Paano if parehas ng initials? Di ata magka-problema, mag-igsuon gyud ang author, no? Pero anyway, if parehas gyud sila og apelyido, parehas pud sila og initials, ka example mag-igsuon sila niya, naka-pattern gyud ang ilahang name. Wala tay mabuhat din ha. The same gihapon nga format. Ano gihapon? Initials and then apelyido and then comma, year of publication. Anaon lang gihapon nato siya. Just to indicate na we have two different authors pero parehas ilahang initials. So ana lang gihapon ang format nato. Now, citing the work without an author. Paano daw kung walay author? So the first, the thing that you're going to do is to identify, example, it's coming from a book. Identify the book by underlining its title and by enclosing the article with quotation marks. So wala po ni siya, example, wala siya author and then wala ta year of publication. This is how you do it. In putting up a functional case study of small business enterprises, one has to use evaluative techniques and reward systems in human organization. So, kaning naka-underline din mauna siya ang title sa book. Take note kung gikan siya sa book ha, title sa book na siya ang naka-underline. Tapos kaning nakabutang sa quotation mark is the title of the article. So title of the book, comma, and then title of the article. Now, paano kung gikan siya sa website? What are we going to do? Kung gikan siya sa website class, ang inyuhang himuon is open and close parenthesis gihapon, tapos title sa article. Ang title sa article is naka-quotation mark, title sa article hagikan sa website, comma, kung naa siya year of publication, you can write the year of publication, period. Pero kung wala siya year of publication ang inyong himuon kay, title gihapon sa article coming from the internet, again, quotation mark ha pag title sa article, and then comma, and then place ND, period. What do you mean by ND? No date. So, mauna siya ang ginahimo pag no author and no year of publication. Quotation mark, comma, and then ND. ND means no date. Pero seldom raman na siya mahitabo class nga walay author niya, wala po year of publication. Most of the time, naagid na siya author and year of publication. Questions pa? Did I answer your question, Janet? Okay, sige. So, kabalo na mo kung sa inyong himuon ha, pag walay author or walay year of publication. Just write ND. Now, citing the corporate author. Pag corporate author class, example, website sa mga organization. Pag website sa organization, di dyan mo kakita mostly yung mga pangalan din ha sa mga tao nga nagsulat. Pero ang inyong buhaton, you just have to indicate only the name of the organization as the author. So just like this one, ang inyong gikwaan is ang student handbook sa doctors. Example, vision and mission sa school. Student handbook sa doctors ang inyong gikwaan. Now, kung tanawan ninyo ang student handbook, naay mga names sa persons din ha, na mga contributors, pero walay nakabutang kinsa gyud ang author, kinsa gyud nagsulat. So, since it's a corporate book, student handbook, ang inyong halang isulatin ha ang name sa organization. And that is example GSDMSFI, 2003 period. Kung example gikan na siya sa WHO, kung tanawon ninyo ang website ni World Health Organization, most of the time wala po na siya author nga makita din ha. So ang ato lang himuon ang pangalan sa nag-publish ana nga organization. So we will just write WHO, example karon nga tuig 2021 and then period. That's the same thing for other websites sa mga organizations like the FDA. So FDA 2019 period. Or kung gikan siya sa DOH, so that's the same thing. Department of Health, 2020, and then period. So anaon ninyo ha, pag gikan siya sa mga website, sa mga organizations, and then you cannot see the authors. The name of the organization will become the author. WHO, FDA, DOH, unsa pa ng mga organizations nga naata dinhi, DTI, kana mao lang na inyuhang i-cite din ha sa inyuhang paper. That's for citing the corporate author. Now, citing secondary sources. When you say secondary sources class, daghan mong mabasa nga mga thesis na syempre napud sila sarili nilang references. Gi-cite nila to. Pero ang imuhang ginabasa kay kaning nag-cite. Ang tawag na to ana secondary source. Example, let me give you an example. Ay, asa na tong akong giabri kagaina? Ay, akong gisirado ka dyan. Let me open it again. Okay. Kanilang Dalmatian and Sana. Okay, wait. Nagay na ko siya. I-share. Okay, for example, kani, gibasa ninyo ang akong gihimo nga research. Yung pagbasa ninyo na ako'y gi-cite din ni example kanilang hakay para mubo. Dalmatian and Sana. Gusto ninyo gamiton ni siya nga idea. Gusto ninyo gamiton na siya nga idea. Pero ang inyong ginabasa dili ang gihimo jud ani nga author kundi ang ako ang sariling gihimo. So I will be the secondary author. Again, I am the secondary author because this is my own work. Ayan, secondary author ko. And then this one will be the primary author. So unsaon ninyo na siya karon pag-cite sa inyong research. Nga ang inyong ginabasa kay ang ako ang papel, pero ang inyong idea nga gusto kwaon kay gikan dinhi kay primary author. So this is how you are going to do that. Wait lang, let's go back to my PowerPoint presentation. You have to cite, you have to give both the primary and secondary sources. So ang pagbuhat ninyo, you have here Seidenberg and McClelland's study, open and close parenthesis, the date of the year of publication of the original author. So original ning author na niha Seidenberg and McClelland study, open and close parenthesis 1989, comma, and take note as cited in Coulthard, Curtis, Atkins, and Holler, comma, 1993. Meaning isulod ninyo sa open and close parenthesis ang secondary author. So for example, gamito ninyo tong sa ako ang papel. Isulat ninyo ang iyahang giingon and then mag-end mo sa ilang apelyido. So ito ilang apelyido, Dalmatian and Sana. And then sa tuig to 20, example lang, 2009. And then ako as the secondary author as cited in Gabilagon 2019. Period. That's how you are going to do if to do the parenthetical citation if gikan siya sa secondary source. Okay, secondary source ang tawag ana. This one actually is an in-text citation kasi you will write the text here and then you will end with the primary author and then you will cite the secondary source also. Questions so far sa parenthetical citation class? So this will help you when you are doing your concept paper ha, kasi sa concept paper pa lang kailangan na mo mag-cite. Questions asa dapit dinhi ang wala na sabtan kay atong usabon from the start yun sa atong parenthetical citation. Kaya man siguro no. I have given you already a copy of my PowerPoint presentation. You can download it sa Schoology. If ever magbuhat na mo tas nakalimot mo sa akong giingon. Okay. Oo, okay na siya, Marian. Kanang imuhang pangutana. Ang pangutana ni Marian, so okay lang po, ma'am, na with 2011 ang secondary source, tapos ang primary source kay luma na. Mao na siya ang ginahimo sa uban nga kailangan kaayo nila ang idea pero dili siya pasok sa 10 years nga allowed. So ang ilahang ginahimo, they will be looking for secondary sources nga nag-cite ato and then mo lang ilahang ginabutang class kani ilahang ginasunod. Kani citing secondary sources. So example ang original author kay 2006 pa pero naay nag-cite nga 2012. You can do that. pwede ra kayo ninyo siya himuon. Mao ni siya ang strategy sa uban nga gusto gid nila gamiton tong luma nga source pero dili na siya allowed supposedly. Pangita mo og secondary source ninyo. Okay? Anything else? Wala na. So let's move on. The next thing that we will talk about is the research design. So pag mayroon kag research design, it's actually the overall plan, the overall scheme or design or pattern nga ato ang sundon. And mao ni siya diri nato makita ang intention sa researcher kung unsay gusto niyang himuon sa iyang study, kung gusto ba niya studihan ang past, ang present, or ang future. The research design will dictate unsay himuon sa researcher. So it is actually the researcher's basis in determining the research method to be used for a certain study. So again, pamingon kag research design, it's the overall plan of the researcher on how he or she will be conducting the research. Paano siya mag data gather, paano niya i-analyze iyahang na gather na data na tanan sa research design. O kung unsa ba iyahang studihan, past, present, or future, makita na tanan sa research design. Now, the research design will dictate the research method. So, mao ni siya ang procedure karon, the type of procedure or method na gamiton sa researcher in gathering the data for the study. So sa pag-gather sa data, dili lang siya taman sa pag-gather sa data, pati sa pag-present, sa pag-analyze o pag-interpret sa data, included na siya sa research method. Now, naalang tayo duha ka categories sa research methods. Mo na nga sige ko og ingon sa inyo ha, tung niagi pa og quali and quanti, kay mao gid ni siya ang categories sa ato ang research methods, whether you will be doing a qualitative research or a quantitative research. But actually, karon na siya update. Nowadays, we have the third one here, and that is called the mixed method. When you say mixed method, i-mix nato na silang duha. Meaning sa isa ka papel, naa kay qualitative nga data, naapod kay quantitative na data. Mao na nga gitawag siya mixed method. Okay? Pero we will just concentrate sa quali ug sa quanti. I don't know kung naabay mag-mixed method sa inyo ha, pero I think dili na ko mo i-encourage for that kasi that will be very difficult. Let's just use one type of method. Let's concentrate din ha. Sa sunod na mo mag-mixed method kung gusto mo mag-masters or mag-doctorate. Mag-mixed methods ta. Now, para na lang may idea what's qualitative and quantitative is all about, let's talk about this. We have here qualitative methods. Take note of that, nakasulat data-free. When I say data-free, wala na siya numerical data. Na kay data pero not numerical na data. Meaning this will be product of observation and interview ang imuhang data, words lang na tanan. Okay? Now, ano sa nato gamiton si qualitative method? This is used for researches with data from non-probability samples. So, sa inyuhang statistics class, you have learned the probability sampling technique and the non-probability sampling technique. I hope you can still remember the difference of the two. Pag moingon kag probability sampling technique, that is the selection of your samples wherein silang tanan na ay equal chance to be selected in your study. For example, simple random sampling, mag-fishbowl method mo. Isulat ninyo ang pangalan sa tanang respondents, butang ninyo sa bowl, and then mamili mo. Mo na siyang time nga equal ang ilahang chance to be selected. That's probability sampling technique. Pero pag moingon ka og non-probability sampling technique, your participants have no equal chance to be selected in your study. Example, convenient sampling. Kumingon kag convenient sampling, kung kinsa lang ang available ana nga time, sila lang imuhang mapili sa imuhang study. So tanan nga dili available, wala na sila chance. Mo na nga wala sila equal chance pag moingon kag non-probability sampling. Parehas na nang ginahimo sa mall bitaw class na mga naga-survey sa mall no kumuagi ka tagaan kag papel kay paansiran ka. That is actually a non-probability sampling technique. Anong non-probability man? Kay kung kinsa lang ang naa sa mall ana nga time, mao lang ang pwede mahatagan sa questionnaire. So kung wala ka ni adto sa mall, wala na kay chance to be selected. Now, you can do qualitative method if your research data is coming from a non-probability sampling technique. Qualitative method na siya. Kung kay ang qualitative method man good mag-interview ta, 'di ba? So kung kinsa lang tong musugot, interviewhon, kung kinsa lang tong available during the interview, mo lang pud ang imong ma-interview. Mao na nga non-probability samples na sila. Next, researches that do not seek generalization of data. Example lang ato ang research problem is gusto ta makabalo sa experience sa mga medical technologists sa ilahang experience nila during the COVID-19. So, kanang experience class, we cannot actually generalize that. Ano man, ang experience nako may not be the experience of the other person. So, kana siya nga data, dili ta maka-generalize. Makakuha ta sa ilahang experiences, pero again, we cannot do generalization. That is qualitative method. Next, researchers not concerned with interfering the characteristics of the population. This is still somewhat related to generalization. If dili nato gusto nga i-generalize ang characteristics sa isa ka group of people or sa isa ka population, we can do qualitative methods. Now, what are the special kinds of researches under sa qualitative method? We can actually do ethnographic study. At tagan na mong example, like si Ma'am Lugto, di ba is the department head sa psychology. Sa iyang doctorate nga study, iyang study is actually ethnographic. Kung sa iyang gibuhat, niadto siya sa isa ka part sa Sarangani, mga bukid-bukid part na sa Sarangani, nipuyo siya didto. Tapos, sa pagpuyo niya dito, nag-observe siya sa culture and tradition atong group of people nga nagpuyo atong a certain place. Ethnographic study na siya. If you want to study the culture, the tradition of a certain group of people, we call it ethnographic. And we don't have numerical data here kasi this will just be a product of observation and interview. So ang gibuhat ni Ma'am dito, nag-observe siya unsa ba ilahang ginabuhat sa ilahang day-to-day lives. And then nag-interview siya dito. Example, kung naadoy magkasakit, paano daw sila mag-diagnose and paano sila magtambal, i-interview lang na niya. So wala siya numerical data for that. That is under the qualitative method. So if you want to do that kind of research, you can also do that. Pero itong problema nga nung puyo man mo dito, kailangan manggod ni puyuan dito kung asa man sila nagpuyo, ang ethnographic research. Kailangan madyugon ninyo ma-observe kung unsa ilahang tradition, ang ilahang culture. And then, if you want to do a qualitative method under sa phenomenological, when you say phenomenological, you are actually exploring here the experiences of your participants. So bisag unsa nga phenomenon, basta experiences ang istoryahan, phenomenological research ang tawag ana. So muna kung permi gina example kagaina, experiences sa mga medtech sa COVID-19, experience sa mga pharmacist sa ilahang pag-work sa pharmacy during COVID-19, tanan klaseng experiences na you want to study under na siya sa phenomenological research. So again, you don't have numerical data here kasi you will just ask them of their experiences and you cannot generalize kasi the experience of one person may not be also the experience of another person. That's phenomenological. And then we have appreciative inquiry. Mostly ang nagahimuan ni kay mga companies, mga organizations, and that they will interview, example, their workers, kung unsa ba ang appreciative man siya, so unsa ba ang strength
sa company or ang strength sa organization. So again, mga companies or mga organizations ang mostly nagabuhat sa appreciative inquiry. Or for example, ang Johnson Doctors, kung gusto sila makabalo sa strengths sa school, pwede sila mag-interview ng mga clients like mga estudyante or mga parents sa mga estudyante. Basta ang term din ha, appreciative inquiry, strength atong ginaistoryahan. And then lastly, we have the historical researches. Siyempre, mostly ang nagahimuan ni mga history students kasi they will be digging into historical na mga panghitabo o gamit ang mga historical facts, artifacts, or even pwede sila mag-interview ng mga people nga naay knowledge over that phenomenon or thing. That's historical research for you. So, these are all the kinds of research under sa qualitative. If you want to do this type of research, you can choose among the 4 special kinds kung unsa inyuhang gusto buhaton. Now, mostly sa mga existing na qualitative studies sa school kay phenomenological. Again, mostly sa mga existing na studies sa school, phenomenological, most of the students are exploring the experiences of their participants. So, mga experiences lang. Last time, kato siya, experiences sa COVID-19. 2 years ago, experiences sa mga medical technologists sa mga private na diagnostic laboratories. So, mga nag-interview sila og mga medtech working sa mga private na mga institutions, na mga diagnostic lab, kung unsa pod ilahang mga experiences. That's qualitative research. Now, this one will be the last one before ta mag-end. Mostly sa mga studies sa school kay quantitative. So quantitative method ang ginagamit, and when you say quantitative method, this deals with researches that are not data-free. Meaning nagyud tay numerical data dinhi. Again, naatay numerical data for quantitative method. That is why it is called quantitative. And then, this method uses all types of sampling techniques, whether it is class a probability sampling where you give equal chance for the respondents to be chosen in your study, or you can even use the non-probability sampling technique for this one, for quantitative method. And this type of research actually aims for generalization, meaning we will generalize the characteristic or infer the characteristic of our population. Example, we want katong study na ako ang gihatag nga example kagaina, medical fake news and fear-mongering on COVID-19, the impact on vaccine confidence among millennials. Actually, pwede ta maka-generalize dito. Pwede ta maka-infer sa characteristics sa ato ang population. Pwede nato ma-generalize ang medical fake news and fear-mongering, pwede na to ma-generalize ang impact ato sa mga millennials. So makabaluta sa ilahang characteristics. Ang mga millennials ba kay dali ba mutuo sa mga fake news na makita nila sa internet? And pag makabasa sila, kung mutuo ba sila dito sa mga fake news, magpa-vaccine ba sila or dili na sila magpa-vaccine? So we can have generalization for that. We have numerical values and then we can have generalizations and we will know their characteristics as a group of people. Pero usually, ingon ko, we can use all types of sampling techniques, pero actually, most of the time for quantitative methods, especially experimental, mas gina-prefer ang gamiton kay probability sampling. Kasi probability sampling will get rid of biases, kasi random man ang selection sa participants. So under sa quantitative method, we only have 2, descriptive and experimental. So pag mayroon kag descriptive, you want to describe the behavior, the characteristics of a certain population, and most of the time, we use questionnaires for this. So parehas atong fear-mongering, naghimo sila sarili nilang questionnaire. Ang nasa ilahang questionnaire, mga medical fake news nga ilahang nakita sa internet, ipabasa nila to sa ilahang mga respondents. And then, pagpabasa nila, gipa-check nila dito kung nagtuo ba ang mga respondents atong mga fake news na to or wala. Tapos ang end part sa ilahang questionnaire is a query if those millennials would still want to be vaccinated or not. That's descriptive method for you. Again, most of the time we'll use the questionnaires for this. And we will describe the characteristics of the population using the results of the data gathered, from the questionnaire. And next, you can also do experimental method. This is still under quantitative method kasi you will have numerical data for this. So, example sa previous year nga experimental study, katong serum from cassava starch separator gel, serum separator gel, tapos gi-check nila kung makaseparate yun ba siya sa serum, and at the same time gi-check nila kung naag yun ba siya effect sa blood glucose testing. Kung malahi ba ang result sa blood glucose testing kung katong nga separator gel ilahang gamiton, katong gikan sa kay cassava. That's an experimental method. So that's it for this lesson. This is for chapter 1, introduction pa lang ni siya. Next meeting, we will have a quiz class of this topic. And then after the quiz, we will have the chapter 2. So this one is basics of research. These are the steps na ginasunod nato sa research. The chapter 2 will be the nature of research. We will talk about research and we will have a deeper understanding of the different methods, qualitative and quantitative. So, i-discuss na ko na isa-isa sa inyo ha, si ethnographic, phenomenological, and so on. Or ano pa lang man, i-overview pa lang ang akong gihimo today. Okay? So, questions, class? Wala pa ko nagbuhat og quiz. Pero basin essay, pero pwede siya combination sa essay o sa objective type nga study. Okay? Questions pa? Wala na? So kung wala na, I think that's it for this morning. If you have queries pa, you can send a private message sa ako. But just wait sa ako ang reply ha kay magnadyo ko'y classes, so sa ako ang free time pa na ako na matubag. But for the meantime, you continue doing your concept paper. You can ask Ma'am Dalig sa inyong groupings. And then see you next week class for our quiz and for the chapter 2. You can now